Dear students, a very good morning to you all. May God provide you the strength and power to fight against the deadly or lethal virus that is corona. Dear students, today I have a very good mind to deal with you a very interesting, inspiring, galvanizing and revolutionizing essay, that is The Secret of Work. The Secret of Work, written by great and grand Swami Vivekananda, a man who lived upon the earth just for 39 years. But in those 39 years, he has revolutionized, you can say, the very spirit of India. And not only of India, but the whole world, you can say. No doubt, all of you must be knowing so many things regarding Swami Vivekananda. He was a great saint who did his human service to propagate the Indian culture, Indian Vedanta, Indian civilization, Indian thought, and almost all other things. If you have books with you, I think you must have the book with you. This essay is given in the 7th paper in the book, that is an anthology of Indian English prose, and this is the first essay prescribed in that anthology. I was telling you, if you have the books, please open the books and see the lines. There is a note given upon this essay, The Secret of Work, and that note says that Vivekananda was perhaps the first Indian to raise his country and its culture in the eyes of the West. His lectures and writings possesses a clarity and force which comes not only from the mastery of the language but also from his total commitment to the cause he was working for. So he was a committed crusader, you can say. He fought against the injustice, you can say. He tried to do away with the problems, with the spiritual problems, you can say, spiritual problems of the world, spiritual problems of the humanity. He was a great devotee of Ramakrishna Paramhans, and he went on propagating his ideas throughout the world with the purpose to mitigate the troubles, the sufferings, the sorrow of the humanity. Now, we should come to the essay, that is The Secret of Work. The title of the very essay is very suggestive. The Secret of Work. Work, all of you know, come. Or secret means rahas. The secret of work. What is work? Why should it be done? How should it be done? What is the result of the work? Who works? And why should one work? All these things. And what are the results of the work upon the person who works? All these things have been beautifully discussed, beautifully described in the essay. The very first line of the essay, see, the miseries of the world. The miseries of the world cannot be cured by physical help only. It means Vivekananda saw the world in the misery, and that the condition of misery, the miserable condition of the humanity throughout the world pains him, and he wants to change, he wants to cure that misery, and comes to the conclusion that the miseries of the world cannot be cured by physical help only. He is of this view that human miseries are not only the result of physical problems. He believes, or he strongly believes, you can say, that almost all the miseries of the humanity are the result of his thought, are the result of his mind. He says, unless and until nature changes, his physical needs will always arise. And later on he says, ignorance is the mother of all evil and of all the miseries we see. Let men have light, let them be pure and spiritually strong and educated, then alone will misery cease in the world. The world is full of misery, no doubt. And he believes that these miseries are the result of the spiritual vacuum of the man. And only physical help can't cure the humanity from all these sufferings, almost all these diseases. And just like a very good physician, you can say, just like a very good doctor, you can say, he finds out the very root of human misery. And that very root of misery, according to him, is ignorance. He says ignorance is the mother of almost all the evil. There are evils upon the earth, and all these evils are the result of the ignorance. Ignorance is the other thing. Education is another thing. A man may be educated, a man may not be a man may be uneducated or not educated. आदमी शिक्षित हो सकता है, आदमी अशिक्षित हो सकता है, but it doesn't mean even an uneducated man can't be ignorant, and an educated man can be ignorant. The ignorance, the very purpose of education is enlightenment, that is spiritual enlightenment. The education must remove the darkness of our mind, darkness of our thinking. If education fails to do so, that education is not going to do good for the humanity. He says that if the nature of man, if the character of man, if the thinking of man remains the same, if man goes on thinking the same way, his suffering is not going to cease. And the only solution for the cure of the suffering of humanity is to bring changes. A man must change his thinking. Negative thinking must be positive thinking. Must be changed into positive thinking. A man must not think for self only, for himself only. A man must think for others. He must remove the ignorance that is in him, that has coiled, you can say, that has got coiled, or that has got freezed in him. He says work is worship. Gita also says karmanyavadhikarastu ma phalesu kadachana. You have to work. And who works? A living entity. A man who is living works. A dead person can't work. It is said कि मरने वाले तो बेबस हैं, जीने वाले कमाल करते हैं. जो जिंदा है, the person who is living is bound to work. We have been sent upon this earth to work and work and work and work incessantly. Continuously we have to work. We must not stop working. At the same time, we must not think for the result also. The result is not in our hand. Only work is in our hand. And the result of a work is bound to be given. we are bound to have the result of our work, and that this result is just like the type of our work. If our work is good one, we are bound to have the good result. If our work is not good one, if it is a bad one, the result will be bad. If just like that, if we sow a mango seed, we are going to have the mango plant. If we have mango plant, if we have mango tree, we are going to have the mangoes. Mangoes may be short, mangoes may be a small, that is another thing. Mangoes may be sour, mangoes may be sweet, but we are going to have mangoes. We are not, if we plant thorny trees, thorny plants, we are going to have thorns. So every work, Vivekananda says, every work leaves its effect upon us. If we go on, if a man goes on doing good and good and good and good, he gets habituated to doing good. Likewise, if a man goes on doing wrong and wrong and wrong, bad and bad and bad, he gets habituated to bad. This Vivekananda says is the sanskar. Good, a person doing good, a good doing person can't do bad. At the same time, if a person who is indulged in evil activities, if his mind goes on thinking about evil things, is not going to do anything good. This is called sanskar. If a man, a good doing man, suppose there is a man who always does good things, has decided this time, has decided once that today he is going to do something wrong, today he is going to do a bad job, and he tries, he wants to do the wrong, but the moment he should do wrong, he fails to do wrong, and he does the good. Then if we go on, studying the essay, Vivekananda says that happiness is the result of mind. It can't be bought, it can't be purchased. Happiness results from the peaceful activities that we do throughout the life. Further, the essayist says that both our good and bad actions, our good actions and bad actions, both create chain for us, both force us. दोनों का हमारे ऊपर प्रभाव पड़ता है, दोनों हमको अपने से बांधते हैं. एंड ये जो बंधन है, this bondage is very terrible. It causes suffering, you can say. And a person who is free from this bondage enjoys the joy of life, enjoys the happiness of life. He enjoys life in the real sense of the term. And the essayist here comes with a very good term, that is liberation. And he says liberation means full freedom from the bondage of good as well as from the bondage of evil. As I have told you, the essayist says that both the actions, our good actions also create a bondage for us, our evil actions also create a bondage for us. Both are bondageous, you can say. If you permit me to use this word bondageous, so both creates fretters, both force us, both chain us, and to let ourselves free from all these bondage, the bondage of good and the bondage of of evil is liberation. इसी को हम कहते हैं लिबरेशन, इसी को कहा जाता है मोक्ष. When evil fails to affect a man, at the same time when good actions fail to affect the man, that is the stage of liberation. Then says, there is a thorn in my finger, and I use. There is a finger in my finger, and I use another to take the first one out, and when I have taken it out, I throw both them aside. Very beautifully, the essayist, through the example of a thorn, very beautifully tries to deal with the effect of bondage, you can say. He says, suppose a thorn pricks in your finger, it gives you pain. It is very painful experience to have the thorns pricking into your finger. Now you have to take that thorn that is paining you out of your finger. Now to take out that thorn that is inside your finger, you need another thorn. Here that thorn cannot be taken out with the help of rose plant, or with the rose flower, or with the petals of rose. So just to take out that thorn of your finger, you need a thorn. You take the thorn, with the help of that thorn, you take out the thorn that was inside your finger. So one thorn that was inside your finger pained you. The other thorn helped you to take out that thorn from your finger. So definitely the second thorn is very much helpful to you. He was friendly to you. He helped you in taking out the thorns from your finger. But we throw both the thorns. It is not the case that it's not like this, that the thorn that was in our finger was thrown away, and the thorn that helped to take out that thorn is kept with caution, you can say. We throw both the thorns. Both the thorns are thrown because both are thorns. So both good also forces us, bad also forces us, and not to get affected from either by good or by the evil is the stage of liberation, is the state of liberation, you can say. And then once again there is a very beautiful example here. Thus, I have no necessity for keeping the second thorn because it is the thorn after all. So bad tendencies are to be counteracted by good ones, and bad impressions on the mind should be removed by the fresh waves of good ones until all that is evil almost disappears or is subdued and held in control in a corner of mind. But after that, the good tendencies also have to be removed, because he says very beautifully, a golden chain is also a chain. No doubt, there are two chains. One is made of iron one. एक चेन है जो लोहे की बनी हुई चेन है, and one there is a chain that is made of gold. It is golden chain, but both are chains. And liberation, according to the essayist, means the freedom from both these changes, both these chains, you can say. इन दोनों चेन से ही मुक्ति का जो मार्ग है या जो मुक्ति का उपाय है, that is liberation. And how this liberation comes? He suggests, I have told you, Vivekananda is a very good physician. He prescribes. He not only points out the diseases, he does a very beautiful diagnosis of the diseases of humanity. At the same time, just like a skilled physician, he provides cures to those diseases also. He prescribes the medicines for those cures, for those diseases also. And here he says how to get liberated, how to get this moksha, how to attain such a height, how not to get affected either by good or by the bad or by the evil. He says, thus the unattached becomes the attached. Work, very very important lines for explanation. But work, but not let the action or thought produce a deep impression on your mind. Further, the essayist comes to the help of the humanity by providing him the mantra providing him the way how to get unattached. Because attachment to the work is bound to cause sorrow, bound to cause worry. Dear students, you must mind it. Attachment is the other thing and seriousness is another thing. We must work with utmost attention, with utmost sincerity. But Vivekananda says that we must not get attached to it. It means we must not be in the grip of the work. The effect of the work must not cast our mind. It must not overcast our mind, you can say. वो हमारे ऊपर वो ना छा जाए. Yes, I have done this work. Others have not done. It is I who has done this work. He says, therefore be unattached. Yet the brain center work incessantly, but let not the mind affected. Work as if you were a stranger in this land, a sojourner. Work incessantly, but do not bind yourselves. Don't bind yourselves. We must not bind ourselves. I am giving an example. Suppose there is a person walking with a cow. The rope of that cow is in the hand of that person. Now, if one asks you who is in the bondage, who is holding whom, of course, definitely our answer will be that the cow is in bondage because it is in rope. The man is carrying the rope in his hand. But suppose, luckily or unluckily, the rope falls from the hand of the person, what happens? The cow starts running away and the person runs after the cow. The cow does not run after the person. Generally, the cow does not run after the person, but the person runs after the cow. This means the man was in the bondage, not the cow. Here, Vivekananda very beautifully suggests us that we have to work. We have to work with utmost attention and utmost sincerity, but we must not get affected. Our mind must not get affected by the work. We have to work like a sojourner. Bondage is terrible. If you get binded to the work, it is but natural that it is going to be terrible, to be horrible for the person who is doing this. This world is not our habitation, and this is because of the ignorance that we consider that this world, which is not our permanent abode, still it is because of the ignorance that we hankered after power and wealth. हम जानते हैं, we know कि कफन में कोई जेब नहीं होती, देयर इज नो पॉकेट. We are not going to take away anything, to have anything with us. We are not going to go to that world with anything, and almost everything. Whatsoever we gather, whatsoever we collect, whatsoever we earn, everything is left upon this earth, and the man goes. The man travels for that world with what? With the good jobs. क्या लेके आया था मैं, क्या लेके जाऊंगा? बस जिनके काम आया हूं मैं, दुआएं उनकी लेके जाऊंगा. So we must work, having this in our mind that we are the travelers. This world is not our permanent abode. We have been sent upon this earth for a particular period. We have been assigned some duties. We have been given some tasks. We have to perform those tasks. And after performing those tasks, that reservation has been done already. We have not to get the ticket, you can say. We have not to book the ticket for our travel, for that our ultimate travel. That ticket has been booked by the Almighty when He sends to this earth with a pass. So we have to go away. This is not our permanent habitation. We are here upon a short span of time. It is only one of the many stages through which we are passing. As we travel, suppose we have to go from Bhagalpur, we have to go to Delhi. By Rajdhani Express, you can say we are going. So there are so many stations fall in the way. So just like that, from this world to that world, we have to journey. There are so many stations, and upon those stations, we have to stop. There are different stages in life, and as per those stages, we walk. But we have to walk. Then, whatever he says, the gist of this teaching is that you should work like a master and not like a slave. Work incessantly, but do not do slave's work. See what a brilliant mind the essayist has. All these lines, all these thinkings of Vivekananda is certainly to galvanize the thought of humanity, the thought of man, you can say. He says here, see, the gist of this teaching is that you should work like a master and not like a slave. It means the work must not master us. We should master our work. काम जो है वो हमको मालिक नहीं बनाएगा, काम हमारा मालिक नहीं होगा, हम काम के मालिक होंगे. We must work like a master. We must not work like slave, because the work of the slaves, and the slaves' work is a very painful work. It brings you can say drudgery. It is a dry work. It is a dreary work. It is a sapless work. It is a fruitless work. It is a juiceless work, you can say. It can't provide you joy. It can't provide you happiness. It can't provide you mirth, you can say. It can't provide you delight. It is delightless job. It is delightless work. The work of a slave is a delightless work. So we must work like master. And then he says, real existence and real knowledge and real love are certainly connected with one another. The three is one, where one of them is that the other also must be. Real existence, real knowledge, and real love. These three go together. If there is real existence, if a person understands what is his real existence, definitely he will have the understanding of the real knowledge. He will have the understanding of real love. Again, he says to Lord Krishna, to Arjun, you can say, let's see the work of God. See the work of nature. See the work of nature. The nature continues to work. The nature works incessantly. The sun rises every day, the sun sets every day. Some of us salute the sun, some of us do not salute the sun. The sun provides light to the person who salutes him and to the person who doesn't salute him equally. He doesn't do any partiality. He does not discriminate between the two, that this person has saluted me, therefore he will be given the light, and since this person has not saluted me, has not offered me any prayers or any you can say devotion or anything like this, so he is not going to be provided my light. I will provide him less light. It doesn't happen. The sun shines for everyone equally, you can say. This we must learn from the nature, from the activities of God. This is the love of nature. This is the love for humanity that causes the nature work incessantly. This is the love of God for the humanity that makes him work incessantly or continuously. This is selfless work. It is not a selfish work, you can say. The work of nature. The nature works for humanity and not for itself, you can say. This is the selfless work. This is the unattached work, you can say. And further, very beautifully, the essayist describes what is might, what is mercy, what is forgiveness, what does the world need, how much might the world needs, how much mercy the world needs, what is forgiveness, what is the importance of forgiveness, why a man should be forgiven. He says, if working like slaves results in before going to that line, I think we must not overlook these lines. Do you ask anything of your children in return for what you have given them? It is your duty to work for them, and there the matter ends. Very beautifully. See, very common example. He tries to emphasize the fact. He tries to drive the point home to the mind of a man, to the mind of the humanity. How can unattachment be possessed? कैसे वो अनअटैच, कैसे आदमी काम करते हुए अनअटैच्ड हो सकता है? ब्यूटीफुल एग्जांपल. ऑफ कोर्स we do so many things for our children. We bring them up, we foster them, we provide them education. That means we educate them. So whatsoever we have to do, we do for them. But we do all these things without having the desire of having return from them. If a parent, if a father does all these things, if a father takes care of his children, you can say, with this desire that later on he will get the rich dividend, he will get the return of his work, of his work which he has done for his wife, for his son, for his daughter, for his children, you can say. And if that son of his, if that daughter of his doesn't return, of course it will be a very, very painful experience for that man. So we must not need to have a desire to have return, to get return for our work. We must work for the humanity, we must work for the all, without having a desire to have the return. Of course, it was my work. I was asked to do this. I have done this. You may appreciate it, you may not appreciate it. It was our duty. I was duty bound, so I have done this. Assume the same attitude towards it as you have towards the children. So if you work for the city, if you work for the society, if you work for the nation, don't desire to have the return. The way you do not have the desire to get return from your children. You work for the children and the matter is finished there. The matter ends there. I have done this. Bhairath has brought the Ganga upon the earth. It was his task. It was his duty. He did for the humanity and he forgot it. It doesn't come into his mind that at the time of his death, oh God, I have brought the Ganga. Now I am leaving this world. So why should the Ganga be on the earth? So let it dry out. Because I am leaving this world. So he left this world and the Ganga is still flowing, quenching the thirst of the earth, quenching the thirst of the humanity. He may be thanked. You might have the example of the Satmanji, who has tore the you can say the bosom of the mountain to make the way for the humanity. He might have been thanked by so many people. He might not have been thanked by someone. He might have got the gift. He might not have got the gift. But the gift he has got is the internal peace. And he worked not with this feeling or with this idea that he will be walking upon that road only. Whenever he saw, he would have seen the persons, the public, people walking on that road, passing through that road, he might have felt so much happiness. He might have felt the delight. That is the work. So we have to work like that. And further the essayist or further the essay says that there are two things which guide the conduct of man, that is might and mercy. Both these two facts or these two things are very important. Might and mercy. Might matlab shakti, takat, and mercy matlab kshama, the daya you can say. And these two things affect man. If a man, the essay says that if a man has got the might, if a man has got the physical strength, he must not misuse that might. That strength has been provided to him by God to help the humanity, to serve the ailing humanity. And if a person does something wrong, he must be forgiven. We must mercy that man, because it is forgiveness we desire from God. Whenever we pray to God, whenever we go to the temples or any places, any religious places, we with our folded hands pray to God, oh God, please forgive me. So if we have a desire to have forgiveness from the Almighty, we must have the same desire, have the same concept of forgiving the others. The person who has done something wrong to you must be forgiven. And at last he says here, the selfless and unattached man may live in the very heart of a crowded and sinful city, yet he will not be touched by sin. This is a very, very important line for the explanation. You can say once again, I am reading it to you or for you. The selfless and unattached man. Two types of persons. Selfless, very beautiful adjective. The selfless and unattached. A person who is selfless, a man who thinks for the others, a man who works for the others, and works without having a desire to have the return, is a blessed person, is a blessed man. He is not going to have the bitter experience of suffering, you can say. Because he has no desire. He has no desire to have the return. He worked thinking that he was made to work. It was his duty to work. And he did it. He did it as per his duty. He was responsible. It was his responsibility to work, and he has done that. So the selfless and unattached man may live in the very heart of a crowded and sinful city. If you have these two things, what is that? Selflessness and unattached. If you are unattached, that very person, even if he is in the sinful city, if there is a man who always does good, is bound to do the good even if he is in the company of bad persons. This is city, yet he will not be touched by sin. Sin, that is pap. That man becomes like the lotus flower. You must have seen the lotus flower blooms in the mud, you can say. It remains in the mud. पानी में, कीचड़ में खिलता है वो कमल. But its petals are always above water. Its petals are always above the mud. What is? We must learn. We must learn a lot from this example, from this lotus flower. Lotus flower remains in mud. The flower remains in water, but water fails to touch him. This is sanskar, you can say. This is the stage of selflessness. This is the stage of unattached work. So, dear students, the gist of this essay is that a man is born upon this earth to work. He has to work, and he has to work incessantly, non-stop work, without thinking for the result. Good works leave upon us good effects. Our bad actions leave bad effects, bad impressions, you can say, upon us. Both the impressions are not good. Both the impressions are bondageous. Both the impressions cause fritters for us, and fritters are always painful. Fritters are always troublesome. Fritters are always irksome. They are bound to irk us. They are bound to cause suffering for us. And Vivekananda says that we can save ourselves from this suffering, from this painful experience, from this horrible and terrible, taxing, torturing experience by working unattachedly, you can say. We must work with sincerity. But we must not let our mind overcast by that work. We have been sent upon this earth to work. We must work like a father who works for his children, without having a desire to get the return. We must work like the nature, which works continuously, works day and night, works 24/7. 24 घंटे नेचर का काम चलता रहता है. And the nature never asks any return from us. Dear students, I have tried my level best to describe the gist of this essay to you people. I have tried my utmost to drive the point home to you people. What does the essay tells? What does the essayist suggest us through this essay? That is the secret of what? Hope. It is hope it might serve your purpose. Hope it will make you, it will enkindle your interest to go through the essay. If you, in a nutshell, I have discussed the essay. I have tried my level best to drive the point home to all of you. Now, if you have any problem in understanding the essay, you must send those problems through your comment, and those problems of yours will be sorted out by me. Thank you. God bless you.